Hey, what's up, everyone? I hope you've grabbed your popcorn and everything because this entry is going to be quite long. This is probably the longest entry. No, it's not probably. It is the longest entry so far. Uh, and there's about three different stories that kind of go on. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, February 9th of 2024 at 6:31 p.m. This week has flown by, but there was one thing that I remember clearly. About a week ago, I hung out with Britt for a long time. Enough time to jam out on our bass and guitar, cook and eat dinner, and go to the arcade, watch There Will Be Blood, and, oh yeah, play JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R. What came as a surprise to me, though, was after all this, I told her that I loved her, and she replied with, "I love you too," followed by a kiss on the neck. A surprise because she has a boyfriend. Now, to any of those who are trying to pursue someone who already has a boyfriend or girlfriend, just don't. This is the best advice I can give you, just don't. It is not worth your time, it is not worth your effort. Just, if you can live with them being friends, do so. If not, just step away. We talked about this, and she seemed to have a weight on her shoulder about this issue. She doesn't like breaking hearts, and I don't think any of us really do either. I understand that internal conflict of liking two people at the same time. My hope that if I waited out, and that maybe she'd eventually choose me, though, was shattered last night when I began to talk to others about my situation. A girl I met online suggests that she's using me, and my good roommate suggested that the most logical approach is to resolve myself and then accept things for how they are now, with us being friends. Internally, these logical and possible realities pose a very depressing outlook on my otherwise positive world. These then manifested themselves into doubts in my understanding of how Britt portrayed everything that night. This led my romantic lens to be shattered into many pieces. My trust issues came reeling in from those with a different view than me, although it doesn't change my attachment issues. I still love Britt, and I am always glad to be around her. To conclude this thought, I don't ignore those with a different view than me. It's just that sometimes I would like to forget that I have trust issues and would like to trust someone for once. That kind of sounded like a garbled mess, because when I was reading this before recording this, I also didn't understand what I was trying to say there. So I'm just going to move on. So that was the end of the first story. Now here's the beginning of a second story, or part, if you will. On another note, I'd like to give to you a very important story that happened in my life. One night, I had a dream about my family being at an outdoor area, a park, if you will. There I came across a geology wall of sorts with some dirt and rocks exposed. This area of the park was to show a cut in the earth to expose what was under the ground. I approached this wall and began to stack some boulders and rocks on top of one another. After a while, a rock came tumbling from above and struck the top of my head. I awoke. 3 months had passed, and soon enough it was May 10th of 2020, Mother's Day. For Mother's Day, we decided to go for a nice outdoor stroll at a park. Before we left the park, we had seen a cut in the earth with rocks and gravel. Apparently, this was some sort of geology wall where kids and teenagers were climbing on. As we approached the wall, I had asked my parents if they had taken me here before, maybe when I was little. The response was in the negative. At the wall, my brothers and I began to scale up the dirt and rocks with other people. At the top, I took 2 pictures, which I still have on my phone. After a while, I began to descend along with my brothers. My pace was slow and careful, but not careful enough. Around 15 feet from the bottom of the hill, I scooted my butt off a rock and landed a bit off kilter. Instead of leaning backwards to land on my butt, I tilted forwards, hoping to catch my footing again. That did not happen. I stumbled forward headfirst into a rock. At the point of contact, everything began to click. I knew that this was the end result of my dream, and at that point, I believed either I somehow gained foresight months earlier, or God sent me a message that I forgot. My head began to bleed, and I let out one loud scream of pain. My father rushed toward me to pick me up as my sister or mother, I can't really remember, fetched the car. In the car, I began to hold paper towels against my head as we raced toward the ER. The only thing I could think of to help pass the time was stay awake. We reached the ER, and luckily it was not busy, so the doctor came in and got working. My hair got trimmed, and the laceration was cleaned. While cleaning, I joked that, I bet you can see the skull from here. To which the nurse cleaning responded, actually, yes, I can. I told my mother to take a picture, and I still have it on my phone to this day. Aside from some winces I dished out, the only thing that was truly painful was one numbing shot that went so deep into my head I couldn't help but say, fuck. A while later, the deed had been done. 14 stitches across the top of my dome, and luckily without a crack in the skull. About 2 weeks of recovery, and boom, I'm back to running track. The only thing that remains of this incident is a small crease where the stitches were. Oftentimes, I look back on this incident and think of all the possible worst outcomes, becoming a vegetable, possible neck or spine issues, death, etc. I think about how if any of these outcomes became my reality, then I would simply not be happy with my life anymore. These made me value my life more than ever. What's ironic, though, is that I consider myself unhappy. This brings me, though, to why I'm writing this in the first place, because this, to me, is a recording of my life due to the aftermath of what I believe to be so close to death that I could kiss it. Now, most of my writings have been questionable at times, and some of the things I've said have not been most thought out or have been very emotionally charged. So why share these inappropriate thoughts to you, my dear listener? Well, it really boils down to a couple of things. First is openness and honesty. I personally want to be a very straightforward person, and I want people to know how I truly feel in these moments in my life. Secondly is trust. I want to be trusted, and I want to trust others with a degree of confidence, and I feel like if I expose my vulnerabilities to you, that you might trust me. Third reason is to document my life in hopes of being remembered. As I may have not made it clear, I am afraid of forgetting, and so afraid of being forgotten. Fourth and final is that I want to express my artistic rawness, the human that I am inside, and bring out a story that others may take inspiration of to create their own stories of their lives. We're now heading into the third part of this entry. The overarching narrative of this book is to try and to move the postmodern era into a new, less abstract, and more straightforward look on art. Call it neo-realism or rawism, I really don't care. The main point is this: at the end of the universe and the world is about to crumble, those pieces of art that are just shapes, lines, splatters, blobs, or anything meant to be abstract, without any semblance of a real-world inspiration, will just remain as such. If someone in the far future were scavenging for some last piece of human history before leaving Earth, I would bet that between the choice of a hammer and an abstract art piece, that they would choose the hammer. Your red triangles, blue circles, and yellow lines will mean absolutely nothing to the person picking up that hammer. I should quickly define what I mean by hammer, because it may be obvious that a ship will probably have a hammer on it. By hammer, I mean like an old wooden hammer, something from what we consider history by today's standards, even. The item could really be anything that was used to advance the physical world, like a sewing machine or a cotton gin, for example. Hell, maybe this book, if I'm lucky enough. Life is complicated, but I'm trying my best to figure it out in a way no one has ever done or will do. We all are individuals after all and have our own reasons to just simply exist at this point in time. Anyway, I'm going to go chill or something because turns out this is the longest entry I've ever written. So, yay. And that ended at 8:35 p.m. And to cap this all off, I have a small drawing. I don't think I have anything else on. Yeah. Small little drawing, a little self-portrait. I don't know if it's focusing well. Maybe if I cover up the whole thing. Look at that little self-portrait. Anyway, that's going to be it. I don't necessarily want to elaborate on it because it's already such a long video. But I do hope you guys have a good one. And I do thank you for listening to this long video. And I will see you guys in the next one.